asked him, what is the best way that I can repay you for everything that you're giving and showing me? He said, help me to change the world, but not the one outside, the one within you. Because the moment that you change the world within you, you will not take things personal. You will not create assumptions because you will trust your words, and you will always do your best.
And let's talk about our special guests today. Wow, I tell you, I'm just going to read the bios first, and then we'll go into, because there's so much I want to ask them. But the first one, of course, we'll go by age. We'll go by age. So, when he was 14 years old, Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. appreciated his father. Apprenticed to his father, Don Miguel Sr. He's the one who wrote the 4 agreements, and his grandmother, Madre Sarita, and to learn how they have manifested their intent to heal people both physically and spiritually. When he reached his mid-20s and 10 years of apprenticeship, his father intensified his training. Check this out. This training culminated one day when Don Miguel Ruiz Sr. sent his elder son out in the world saying, "Find your way out. Go home and master death by becoming alive." Can you imagine your father saying that to you, right? Be gone. Go learn about master death so you can learn how to really live. And to tell you what, that is our fundamental problem in this world right now. People truly are just feel like they're surviving. They're not really living. And it's so easy to do that once you kind of get that right mindset, which we're going to learn all about today. For the past 6 years, Don Miguel Jr. has applied the lessons learned from his father and grandmother to define and enjoy his own personal freedom while achieving peace with all creation. As a Miguel Jr. is finally, and we'll talk about that, what that is too. Miguel Jr. is finally ready to pass along his wisdom and tools his father's traditions, family's traditions, along with his workshops, retreats, and power journeys to help others to achieve to their own personal freedom and optimal physical and spiritual health. He also hosts a successful weekly internet radio show, The Way of the Desert. Wow. And author of many books. A couple of them right now are Self-Mastery and the 5 Levels of Attachment book. And if you want to reach him, you could go to MiguelRuizJr.com. That's Miguel Ruiz Jr. Don't forget the junior.com. Now, normally I jump right to the questions, but I have another special guest we have to introduce here. And I tell you what, this is this incredible opportunity to have both brothers here at the same time. In 2010, Don Ruiz released his first book, The Fifth Agreement. Fifth Agreement, if you haven't heard it, you got to check it out. In partnership with his father, Don Miguel Ruiz. They worked it on together, The Fifth Agreement. You thought there was only 4, there's 5. Following the publication, Don Jose began traveling around the U.S., Mexico, South America. Don Jose inspires people in many different ways, including book signings, lectures, seminars, hosting journeys to the, let's see if I get this right here, Teotihuacan, and often another sacred sites. That's a sacred site which we'll talk about around the world. Don Jose's message has been heard all over the United States, Mexico, Europe, Japan, Israel, South America. His journeys to sacred sites have been translated into many different languages, including Spanish, French, and German. Wow, that's a big deal. His message changes lives and brings people closer to themselves than ever before. His passion is to help children stay away from gangs and drugs by developing healthy outlets such as music and other creative avenues. He will continue to share his wisdom of his family lineage through his own life experiences. Don Jose enjoys working with people of all faiths and cultures. He sees all men and women as equal and feels it's a blessing to be alive. Amen to that. And you could reach him at MiguelRuiz.com. That's MiguelRuiz.com. So, welcome the Ruiz brothers. All right. Yeah. Great to have you here.
Hey, how you doing?
All right. Fantastic. So my first question for both of you, well, I'll just say for you, Jose, my first question is, how do you hold up against Miguel Jr. here in your battles growing up, you know? So, did you hold your own, or what'd you do?
I always ask my father to let him beat him.
And my dad told me to let him win.
Peace is more important.
Okay, that was Senior's first mistake. You know, I'll tell you what, you got to learn life the hard way. You know, by older brother, I'll tell you what. And when you do finally have a chance to get a couple of knocks in him, he's like, you own that, all right? I got it. But no, I think that's wonderful, and I'm joking in reference to that in a sense, but that happens. You know, you guys kind of grew up in a tough neighborhood, didn't you? I mean, it wasn't an easy place to grow up in. Can you describe a little bit what it was like out there? Miguel, why don't you tell us what it was like?
Well, it's we were born and raised in 2 cities, in Tijuana and San Diego. So you can say the barrios we live in Tijuana, you know, for me, the experience both Jose and I had were different. in regards to our neighborhoods. Would it be considered rough and dangerous? By a certain point of view, yeah, but we were comfortable.
Yeah.
We knew where to get in trouble, where not to get in trouble, where to walk, the proper way of lowering our head and upping our head. The difference that meant, if you lift your head like this, that meant you're looking for a fight. If you go like this, no problem's all good. Learning who to say that to and what kind of things. And same in San Diego. But it's like any other neighborhood. Was it rough? Yeah, it could be. But Jose and I navigated those streets pretty nicely. I think Jose, his experience was different.
Well, Jose, what was your experience like? How different?
Well, at the age of 12, I noticed that in the neighborhood, you get bullied, or you have to bully, you get bullied. And I see many people of my elders get bullied, so I decided I'm not going to get bullied. So I have to do things I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And little by little, you start having peer pressure and doing things you don't want to do. And then you enter the world of drugs and gangs, and then you just lose yourself. And it takes a while to come back home. And that's one of my main lessons from life, that my family's teaching really helped me get out of this kind of lifestyle, because I've been giving so many titles like Eagle of the North, Shaman, Swami, but all those are beautiful gestures from my teachers, because I know that I was another kid from another rough neighborhood that made bad decisions. That in life I paid for them, but it took me a long time. But thank you for the 4 agreements and my father's work that we get to share all over the world. That's the gratitude that really helped.
Yeah, it's wonderful, because usually in any family, especially with sons and fathers, you have like the prodigal son. Probably both of you were at the point of prodigal son, or maybe Jose, you were more that. I don't know, but you have the family dynamics involved, where you usually in any small family. Do you have any brothers or sisters, or is it just you two, or?
We have steps. One stepbrother and 3 stepsisters.
Okay, but you two.
We have a little brother that today is his birthday.
Oh, hey! Wish him happy birthday.
Of the 3 is his birthday today. Yeah.
All right, great, fantastic. Well, happy birthday from the United Nations Foundation. There you go.
Hey, happy birthday, Leo.
So, usually you have the dynamics, like you have the hero of the family, and then you have the scapegoat, and then you have like the funny man. Did any of you guys fit in any of those roles at all growing up in the environment, especially with having such a well-known father?
Well, you can say that the nice thing about being the oldest is that I got to witness different stages of my father's style of parenting. I remember Dr. Miguel Ruiz. I remember apprentice Don Miguel Ruiz, and I remember Don Miguel Ruiz, the shaman, and Don Miguel Ruiz, the man he is now. And all of them taught and parented different. Saying that, growing up, my responsibility was, I was the oldest. I was supposed to take care of Jose and Leo and be responsible, and I was given a lot of responsibilities growing up, and you can say that an examples like and I lived when I was 13. I moved from Tijuana to San Diego. I moved from my mother's house to my dad's house. They were divorced. They divorced at the age of 8 when I was 8 years old. Jose was 5 years old, I believe, or 6. So at the age of 13, I moved to San Diego to be with my dad and my grandma. But I still went to school in Tijuana. So one of those rare situations where I lived in San Diego and I commuted every day to Tijuana to go to school.
Oh, my.
And in Mexico, you have to take a test to go to high school. It's not you have a birthday and you go to high school. You have to take the equivalent of an SAT test. So my father says, up until 9th grade, Miguel, we pushed you, we enrolled you, we were on top of your homework and all that kind of thing. Now, that's your responsibility. It's your education's in your hands. You pick the school, you go enroll, you go enlist, you go find out, you do your due diligence, and it's up to you whether or not you go to school or not. And because of that, I'm like, well, I looked at I couldn't really, up to that point, I only focused on the grades I was going in. Now I had to take care of all these things. And luckily for me, I found this school called Lázaro Cárdenas in Tijuana, which had the International Baccalaureate, which as an academic I really wanted to be a part of. I enrolled in it. I got into the program. I was part of the program. And I followed the same method when I got into the UCSD, got a full scholarship, and that's the way I did it. That's the way my father apprenticed me. You know, you can say that.
Sure.
When I was in elementary school, he pushed me quite heavily, and then in 9th grade, he let go of the reins and said, "All right, see what you do." Like the equivalent of conquer death by being alive. It's the same concept. Yeah, he applied that lesson over and over. So Jose calls me the bear.
Well, you know, I mean, you learn a couple different ways. Like your learning sounds like it was a lot through your apprenticeship with your father, and Jose's was more on the streets. You know, street learning is very powerful in a way, especially when you come to the point when you could reclaim your power back. You know, I mean, it is really like that prodigal son. You go out and you think you're doing bad things, but really you couldn't grow as much as you could unless you had those experiences. And Jose, I assume you're really at that point in life where you had so much to share as well as Miguel, who had probably a lot more one-on-one time with your father initially. You know, so both of you actually researching and looking at you both kind of experienced that rebellion itch at some point, right? So because I have my father was a Marine, very controlling, still is. You know, we're going back for his 80th birthday, and I'm still scared of the guy. And so you both had that itch. And what would you like, Jose? Do you all have any children, Jose or Miguel? You have any children?
I have 2 kids.
2 kids.
Yes, I don't have it.
Okay. Well, you may have children in the future. So what advice how would you raise your kids at this point? What would you not do differently than perhaps what you grew up? So their rebellion perhaps is not so extreme in some of your cases. I mean, what would you do differently? Go ahead, Jose, if you had children.
For me?
Yeah.
Well, there's something that my mother and my father always said: if you don't educate your children, nobody else will. And something when I was growing up, rebelling, my parents always told me things about love, discipline, but with love, and I didn't want to hear it. I pretend I knew how the water ran. But when I was in situations where I really needed them, or there was abusive people around, or manipulated people, their words and their wisdom really resonated to me. And even though I was far away from their light, it always came back in. And one of those things is when I came back from my father and I confessed what kind of life I was living. Then he showed me the ways of shamanism. And in the shamanism, something that really connected me when I was in the streets, when I was in drug addiction, but at the same time, shamanism was something that was a light for me because I had profound dreams when I blacked out or when I something like that I always saw like a vision. And that vision always kept me alive. I really know that vision kept me alive. But really what I understand that really kept me alive as well was the word of my parents, the words. So because if you don't educate them, someone else will. And one thing they always have done, no matter what I've done in my life, they always had their doors open, always their arms open, never judgmental. Even though I was beating myself up with all the judgments and things like that, but they were never like that. They always see me as their son, as their baby, as their boy, as their son. And they said, no matter how old you are, you'll always be like that. The only thing that happens in life is that the world is addicted to suffering. And the program is to make you suffer about everything, make you feel guilt and shame, but you to forgive yourself for wherever you place yourself, and not only that, to forgive others who hurt you in this world. It was just a bad dream, son. You can wake up any moment, and I woke up. Thank to God, I still have those memories. I still keep that deal open. The words of my parents saying, giving their love and always having the door open. That's what I would do if I had children as well.
That's really powerful. Can I add something?
Yeah.
I have to just say, I worked for Stephen Covey. You probably know who Stephen Covey in his sons, and talking to his sons. The father had implemented or had been using them as guinea pigs their whole life, in all those 7 habits, so I remember, like Sean Covey saying to me, well, I was really, he kept trying it out. Did you find that your dad was doing that as you were young? And then, so he was empowering you in so many ways, and using those 4 agreements probably before they even, were written. And
got to get my data.
This is good stuff here.
Well, hence the rebellion.
Exactly.
Because but I tell you, I think it's a great question. And it sounds like that. It was just by your smile. Sounds like it resonates to be true.
When I first read the 4 agreements in 1997, 20 years ago, I began to read it, and around about chapter 3, I put the book down. It was my dad telling me what to do all over again. That was the experience.
Yeah.
And then, I graduated from college. The bubble burst, because when you focus, you're so much on school. There's a certain kind of bubble that, as you guys were talking about, Jose, learned that bubble wasn't there in the street, man.
Yeah.
But when you graduate from college, there's a certain bubble that bursts. You start working for life. You start working not for grades, but for a consequence. And then you have serious relationships and things like that. And you start going into that. And then around the age of 27, I picked up my dad's book again, and I saw it the way other people see it.
Mm-hmm.
It was there to help me, and I used it as an instrument for that. So it took me some time to take out that filter that a son looks at a teaching that a parent would give.
Mm-hmm.
To see it as an instrument that I can use in my own life.
Right. Beautiful, Miguel. And Miguel, and I don't know how often you and Jose talk to each other, but I mean, right now we got an opportunity. But what do you admire? What's the best attribute of Jose that you appreciate the most today?
His faith. He's got a strong faith. If you ever hear Jose speak in lectures, the same faith he has outside. He's excited about the things he's excited about. He has zero doubt. He goes for it 100%. I listen to him teach, and I'm going, wow, what gives power to his words is his passion, his belief. He knows what he's talking about, and he gets to share that. To me, it's one of the most wonderful attributes that he cares, of course, of the world, but he so much enjoys entering his world and sharing that world and expanding that world to such a degree that he's having fun doing it. It's a wonderful thing to witness. Every time I hear him talk, he just gets better and better and better and better.
You see it in the videos. It really is. Jose, what do you have to say about your brother? It doesn't have to be anything positive. Just kidding.
Well,
just kidding.
It's always since that I was a kid, to be grateful to have a big brother, to come to this world to have a big brother. Like my brother said, he's a bear. And his love that he has not only for me, but for his family, how he protects them, how he protects my parents, his friends, now even his apprentices and his people who read his work, and to see him shine and, always, every time he gets on stage, every time he gets the opportunity, just to see him in his element and being that big brother love, because, in this life, we all are a force. We are intent. And he has mastered to hold that intent in his body to share. And that's a beautiful thing, but I'm so grateful, for his brother love. And, no matter what age we are, I still see ourselves like we were little kids going for Halloween when we were 10. We're going touring in Europe. We go touring in Mexico. And in our between lectures, we get to sightseeing. So here we go, we're sightseeing with our friends and families, and he's like leading the charge, and it's something that we have between our friends and families, Group 4.
Group 4.
My brother's so
See, I'm telling you, there's nothing like that brotherly love especially when you get older and you both kind of.
We just went to Santa Cruz. We did a week, a 5-day intensive up in Scotts Valley, and as soon as the workshop ended in the afternoon, Jose and I would get in the car and drive into Santa Cruz looking for music and guitars, and we're big fans of a movie called The Lost Boys. That's with Corey Haim and all the whole crew about vampires, the vampires we grew up with, And we were walking around the boardwalk, and as soon as we was driving to Santa Cruz, I grabbed my iPhone and I started playing People Are Strange, the Echo and the Bunnyman version, and we're driving around with the soundtrack of The Lost Boys. We're walking around the carnival area, the boardwalk, and we're like, that's the scene that's where Michael met Star. That's where the Lost Boys and David and the crew went with the motorcycles, and here's the merry-go-round where the vampires first show up in the movie, and we're like totally geeking out about it, but we're just so happy.
No, I love it, and I tell you, it's amazing when you both kind of have that enlightenment at its point, or you don't the rebellion and you're embracing these because it's really affecting your life. How that bond can become so much stronger. Jose, when did you realize that your father's teachings were about going inside your head and your heart, not mattering what's outside of you? I mean, when did you have that emotional realization?
Well, I've been in different layers of my father's teaching. That every time I get to a new layer, like an onion, he says to me, "Welcome back home, my son." Because I lose myself. But when I really understood is when he was almost gone, and when he got that heart attack, and I went up to him, and I was crying. I said, "Dad, you cannot leave me. You cannot leave me alone, because like my brother said, we live in a bubble, and he's always bubbles full of love." And when that was disappearing, I noticed that I was always clinging on to him, holding on to him, not having trust in me. And the moment that I said that to him, he was in the emergency room. I was crying, said, "Father, you cannot die. You cannot leave me this way." And he said, "Is that the way you're going to celebrate the death of your father?" Got very serious, looked me in the eye and says, "Get out of the room and fix yourself." And in that moment, I saw the selfishness that I saw that this is the last moment I will give to him, as at his dying moment. This is how I'm going to let him go. "Look, Daddy, how I'm suffering. This is how you're going to die, And then the other one is that I was going to hurt myself with his death. And he wasn't even dead yet. And I began doing this automatic play, knowing that I needed something. I was disrespecting him. I was disrespecting myself. So the moment that I went inside the room, I grabbed his hand and I said, "I understand now what you mean, Father. You're always within me, even though it's not the real you, but it's an image of respect that I hold on to me." And this is when I really understood that we all are the same people. And I asked him, "What is the best way that I can repay you for everything that you're giving and showing me?" He said, "Help me to change the world, but not the one outside, the one within you. Because the moment that you change the world within you, you will not take things personal. You will not create assumptions, because you will trust your word, and you will always do your best. And in life, you're gonna see this. There's gonna be people who say mean things to you, who scream at you, and it's not thing personal with you. It's just their poison. It's their wound showing out loud. And when you see someone screaming like that, they're only asking for help, because in this world, the world's addicted to suffering. Don't take them personal. Learn to listen from your heart and change the world within you." When he said those words to me, I really understood the Toltec training, because at the Toltec training, there's nothing to learn, because Toltec means artist of the spirit. So whenever you wake up and you see something taking your inspiration away, or should I say, something that we give our power to take our inspiration away, that begins, corrupting our soul. And when it corrupts our soul, we get into depression. We don't want to shine. We're going against our natural habitat. So that is when I knew that I really had to unlearn everything that takes my inspiration away, especially having him with gratitude. And he even said, "And I don't even have to know when you do this. Only you will know." And this is the moment that I really understood the highest level of enlightenment for me. After studying many paths, it's clear conscious. When you have a clean conscience, you don't have to lie, you don't have to pretend, and the truth is absolutely just shining. That imagine people who lie all the time. They have to remember their lies. And if they lie to 7 people and those 7 people are in the same room, imagine the chaos and stress that will have. That it will create sickness, emotional sickness. And this is how the world lives. Yeah. Pretending, lying. They don't know how to be authentic. This is why this is a really good question, because when we look within ourselves, this is where everything changes in the outside, because then we can give what we have, and we cannot give what we don't have, like my father says.
Beautifully stated, and I'm sure, Miguel, you feel the same way on that level. But both of you guys, I'm sure you believe that your thoughts create your own reality, or co-creating your reality together. I mean, I'm sure that's a fundamental aspect of your lives at this point. But what I have a hard time wrestling with, and because now we bring in, I don't know how familiar you are with quantum physics, but now science starting to catch up to explaining a lot about spirituality in reference to thoughts and how it affects, and how we are living in this wave formation. We collapse it by observing it to a particle of matter, whatever it may be. And a lot of it has to do with just what's going on inside, like Jose was just talking about. But how do you, knowing, I know if Benedetto Masseri discusses, every nanosecond we're creating and manifesting our life, our life events, everything, right? With our thoughts and emotions, our connection to source, whatever definition you want to have on that. So on a day-to-day basis, knowing that to be true, and not because we live in a limited 5-dimensional world right now. I mean, we are multi beings, but yet we're still have our 5 senses we have to deal with in front of us, right? How do you, and Miguel, you could answer this one, and then Jose, if you want to chime in too. How do you, on a day-to-day basis, incorporate that into the decisions that you make every day? Because it seems like it's almost like way too much power one human should have, But I mean, how do you incorporate that without going too far, exploding with all this currency you have now, and understanding how your thoughts create your reality?
Well, it's understanding that I'm dreaming constantly. In our Toltec tradition, the function of the mind is to dream, but in our Toltec tradition, dreaming simply is to perceive and to project. That I'm constantly perceiving life 360 degrees around me with my nerve system, with my eyes, with my ears, with every single nerve ending that surrounds my body. And at the same time, I'm projecting. Right now, I'm filling my diaphragm with air, slowly letting it out through the trachea to the vocal cords of my throat, to muscles of my mouth to make sounds in English. And I say English because I want to be understood, because that's the language we're sharing. I could speak Spanish, but I'll lose a lot of the people who are listening. So because I want to share, I'll engage in a language that I'm going to be understood. And then right there, that's the point. We use the instruments that we have in our belief system, in our mind, to interact with the people in our community. We're constantly co-creating with people. Yes, we are bombarded with information continuously, not just with information in the news or online or based on the readings of the great teachers and masters that the world has shown us, which is nice. Nowadays, we live in a time where if we want to learn from Ram Dass or learn from Deepak or learn from Yogananda or learn from Krishna or Jesus or Buddha, Siddhartha Mohammed, and all the elders of all the parts of the world, from the elders, the Maori elders, the South African elders, the Sahara elders, European, Vietnam, it's right there, And I remember a time when I was a teenager where it was really difficult, if it's similar to music, where you have to go into that one record store that will have those rare imports, and you have to dig and dig and dig. Nowadays, all you have to do is just go online, and those rare imports, it's in a YouTube recording somewhere, and you find it right away. We're bombarded, which is beautiful. But the thing about it is, how can I use that in my everyday life? Not only to interact with the people in my life, not only to use it to inform my choice, but how am I going to use it in a way that allows me to construct my world? And at that point, I like using the instrument, the image of a tool shed. It's like I put every single instrument I have in that tool shed, and being aware of my environment, being aware of my present moment will allow me to know which instrument I'm going to use. Because if I don't know, in order to screw in a screw, I'm not going to use a hammer. It's about being aware of your environment, So if I'm projecting, for example, if you and I are talking and it's your turn to talk. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
But if you and I are talking and it's your turn to talk, and I'm thinking what I'm going to say instead of listening to you, then I'm not listening to you.
Being present.
But being present is really about the willingness to listen, to listen to the environment, to be aware of your environment, to be aware of what's happening at this very moment. That's how we know which instrument that we have, which information, which knowledge is actually relevant that we can use. Sure. So it's about listening, which is, to me, the quiet mind is the willingness to perceive the environment that surrounds me without me getting in the way.
And it being still is so critical these days because of that reason, and did you want to say something, Maria?
I did. I was thinking about what you were saying, and that the times that I feel that I'm anxious to say something instead of listening, it creates such anxiety. And there's such peace in that when you really do pay attention and you're present and listen, there is some calmness that comes along with that, really. And if training yourself to do that is really powerful. And it's peaceful.
Yeah, because you can be in the middle of Manhattan and still be the most quietest place because I'm not interpreting everything I'm perceiving, I'm listening. So you could say, from that point of view, silence is just listening to the world, listening to my environment. And listening, I get to interact with it accordingly.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing, and I tell you, when it comes to creating a reality and like listening and stilling yourself, it's of course critical elements of that too. Jose, what role do you see that doubt and knowing plays in manifesting what you want to experience? How does that balance work for you, and how does what kind of interaction do either one of those, doubt and knowing, have you learned in your life at this point when it comes to manifesting?
Well, it's a thing that many artists have. They don't trust themselves. They judge their art. They judge the artist that they are. So they judge their creativity. But once you begin creating from the heart, you know that you create because you're your biggest fan, you know, and because you love to do it. But what happens when you love to do something and then you're about to share it to somebody, you feel a little defensive. It's like you don't want to share that. That's like personal because you have a little judgment that they may take it that and say this ugly or something like that. And this is when we lose our power. Nothing that we do to the outside has nothing to do, and we give so much power to that. It reminds me of a little bird that, you know, that I say in my classes, a little bird that's sitting outside the classroom, just going. And I said to my friends, you know, do you think the bird cares that I hope I'm singing in the right key? I hope they like me. I hope I'm in, you know, the birds don't care. They just do what they love to do. You know, this is the same thing with us, but we have an inner judge. And that inner judge is always, you know, sabotaging everything. So when you have faith in whatever you dream of, whenever you have faith that you can create, you don't listen to nobody else's doubt. You know, you listen to them, to their point of view, but you don't believe their doubt because you have something inside of you of trust. And there's always a way to manifest your dream. I noticed in my life, you know, something that my grandmother taught me was faith. And she said, you know, everything is possible. There will be people that they can tell you that it's not possible. You know, it's true for them, they said. But for you, it might be different because you can always figure a way. And this is when I really noticed that like we were saying earlier, we just have to listen from the within because this is where we are like antennas. And we get so many ideas, creative ideas, that if we don't take the action, 6 months or 8 months may pass by. Then we're walking downtown, you know, and then we look out into a window of a shop and we said, look at this. I had that idea like 6 months ago. But, you know, I didn't take the action, you know, but someone else did. It's because we humans, you know, that's what we call artists because we're already receiving the light of the sun, as the ancestors say. And he has ideas that come in, but only we would doubt, you know, shut ourselves down. Because you can be the greatest guitar player, but if you have the doubt, you will always choke on stage, you know. But if you don't care for what anybody says, you know, you begin seeing the crowd as part of you. It's because you're all celebrating. This is something that people forget to do, celebrate. And you know what? Sometimes we do something that we don't like, you know. And okay, we did that last week. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. Miguel, you want to say anything on that? Okay, but
no, I love the way he said it. It's spot on.
Yeah, I agree. So it's what Jose, you were saying is, and adding to that, I think it's what's phenomenal about, you know, the doubt and like when this is your reality you're creating. So why would you doubt what you're creating? Because you're creating it, right? So you're doubting yourself basically is the bottom line. And why doubt yourself? Because it's stopping you from experiencing what you truly want to experience. It seems silly on that sense, but because we feel like we're separate from everyone, ourselves and everything else, we feel like we're not creating our own reality until you really understand on your level. You understand, yes, you are. So why have doubt? But Miguel, when it comes to creating that state of being, like Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, you create the state of being through, you know, expectancy, repetition, and meaning, but it's so easy to have connecting to that frequency of joy and love where you may want to be and where you could share your wisdom, what's going on. And then life events throw things at you, and you may drop out of that state of being for whatever reason, whatever period of time. What are some of your techniques that you use to keep yourself or bring you back into that state of being that you want, that frequency that you want to be living in as you kind of go through life day to day?
Okay, sure. That's how much longer are you having your show? All right, so I'll do my very best.
All right.
I had a teacher once taught me this lesson that the key to enlightenment is effort. That's it. That's the key to enlightenment, effort. Effort is basically using the energy that is me, that animates this body, that animates this mind to manifest something. The same energy I use to move my legs, to move my arms, is the same energy I use to create a thought. With that being said, discipline is remembering to apply that effort every day. That's it. And success is following through. So for me, in creating, it's just basically constantly being honest with myself. This discipline of being honest. This is where I'm at. This is how I feel. You know, for example, over 4 years ago, I goaded my neighbors to run a thing called Tough Mudder, and they did it. But I couldn't do it because I was still recovering from an injury. But then I said, we did it. I'm like, all right, that means I'm signing up for the next year, and because I goaded them, right? I'm the you know, the big brother. I still do those little goading things. Hey, Jose, try this. And I did it, and at first I was barely able to run 2 miles. It was the most difficult thing. So I created an instrument that allowed me to continue running, which is a playlist on my phone. I had one song where I ran and one song where I walked, and little by little I increased that. I increased it to 2 songs that I ran and 1 song that I walked, and I used that interval. Then I increased it to 3 songs and 1 song, 4, and to the point where I ran for an hour and walking 5 minutes and then walking again, to the point where now I've ran 3 marathons, several half marathons, like 12 half marathons, and I'm training for my 4th one. I've lost 20 pounds, and I began to let go of the things that got in the way, and I stopped drinking a year ago. I don't drink anymore. And little by little, it's this constant use of my effort and reminding myself how I want to use that effort. There's this thing that I call anchors that I've learned them as anchors. Basically, as soon as I begin to go on a tangent, to remember, oh, that's right, I'm going back. So I realign myself and go back again. My dear friend Heather Ashamara says, like a rocket, a heat-seeking rocket, is wrong 99% of the time until that one time, because it keeps auto-correcting itself. It corrects, beep. That's how we use intent. So in my life, the way I transform my life is by having a moment of clarity, a moment of being honest with myself. You know, I can use the image of Don Quixote. Don Quixote sees the windmills after he attacks it, thinking that they were giants. If he sees giants, he's worthy of the name Don Quixote de la Mancha, so he prefers to see the giants. Because if he sees the windmills, his name is Alonso Quijano, the real truth. So in that moment of clarity, where he can accept the truth that these are windmills, he concocts a story that allows him to continue to believe his illusion. Ah, Sancho, how naive you are. Don't you know that my arch nemesis, the magician, turned these giants into windmills just to make me look bad? That way, every time he sees a windmill, he knows that that's a magician powerful that converted every giant in the land into windmills to rob them of his glory.
Yeah.
That's it. That's a moment where we have a moment of clarity and we didn't take action. So a moment of clarity without any action is just a thought that passes in the wind. But a moment of clarity followed by action becomes a pivotal moment in our life. It's what Joseph Campbell would say: the call to action, the arc of the hero, the hero's journey.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And
so we have a moment in our life where we've seen, all right, this isn't working for me. I want to be healthy. I'm no longer in my 30s. I'm in my 40s, and my father had his heart attack at the age of 49. Well, now is the time to start taking the action to put me in a better position that when 49 rolls around, I'm not worried about a heart attack, although one can come, of course. If you want to make God laugh, tell her your plans. But you do the steps and you take the action that transform your life, that reduces your risk. So I haven't touched alcohol in a year. I dropped 20 pounds. And my new running base is 5 miles. I'm able to run 5 miles, no problem. Whereas before, 2 miles was...
So the effort you're saying, you put incrementally in. It's like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, where a lot of people make that mistake when it comes to creating your own reality. You know, I just want to have all this. I want the, whatever that may be. And instead of looking at what they truly believe, like because you could say consciously you want to have... to be able to be an Ironman and have a great record, but you don't believe it, or there's doubt involved in that. But when you do it incrementally, that doubt turns into knowing, and that knowing is what manifests that experience, that success, right?
Exactly. It's like in running, for example, and doing those kind of races.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as fake it until you make it. There's no absolute no. That does not work in any way, shape, or form. You're not faking it till you make it, man.
Yeah.
You have to be constantly aware of your truth. Right. You're constantly aware of your truth. Jose loves using that fake it till you make it. He's like, that's not gonna work. That's just not gonna help you. And that's lesson Jose taught me with that one. That basically it starts with accepting who you are right now. Always doing your best is being honest with yourself. Being honest. This is today. I am having the strong will that, today I may be tempted by alcohol. I am not going to go out and hang out with my friends.
Right.
Today, I'm strong enough. I'm not tempted. I'll go out and meet my friends because I'm honest with myself. Today, I know my will is strong. Today, it's not that strong, so I won't set myself up for failure. I will take care of myself. It's honesty.
Yeah, self-honesty. And Jose, speaking of being tempted and going full steam ahead into your temptations, as you share in your stories about getting into the drugs and to the point where you were in such a dark state of being that suicide was an option for you. How has what Miguel just said in reference to living life incrementally in effort and fighting for those inches and believing in those in that incremental process, how has that transformed your life from those events in the past that you went through, where perhaps your mindset was you wanted everything all at one time and you knew you couldn't get it, so you got yourself distracted in areas that you just numbed out on?
Yes, in the past, there was some reason I wasn't happy all the time, because that's my natural state. But I had all the tools, all the knowledge to do it. And I kept practicing it, but there was something that really stopped me from doing it. It's because I was still supporting cruelty to animals. I was talking about peace, love, and, peaceful, but then I was supporting, the animals that were getting, how they get treated,
Yeah.
And at the same time, we eat that meat. We begin eating that meal, so it makes us sick. So that makes us depression. So I could totally understand that my higher vibration mindly was connected, but body wasn't. So one day, one of my intestines got blocked because of the stab wound that I had because of my intent of suicide, And one day that intestine got blocked, and no food could pass in my body. There was no food that can pass. So it just began getting bloated, that I had to go to the emergency room so they can stuck a hose through one nostril and take all the food out from there. And then later, said everything's going to be okay, but they sent me back home. But it happened again, so now they got the other nostril and broke the wall. So I was in the hospital when I got the epiphany. I had like a vision, like I had in Vision Quest, but I had it in the hospital. And I woke up and I saw that everybody in the hospital had the same problem of me. Obesity, putting things, preservatives on the food, eating what we are not supposed to eat. And that moment, I knew that I have everything in my mind, but now it's time to really walk my talk. If it's time that I'm really going to be Toltec and sharing this message, I have to see the next layer that got it put into me. And it's, stop being cruel to animals, because the animal that I'm being cruel to was my body. So we all know that we love to eat certain things, but, that's the mind who loves to learn certain things. So in the Toltec, we talk about detaching what affects us, not what the mind thinks it is, because the predator side, the ego, is what wants that, It wants that addiction. But the moment that you know that you can survive, you wake up, then you cannot go against your consciousness. And this is when I really know that every time I broke my word, I go against my consciousness. When something very beautiful happened, is that one day, that I got the epiphany saying, it's all in the meat, it's all in the animal product. So I used to love it. I used to have excuses. I used to put people down, laughing about my uncomfortableness, of people putting their effort to live a certain way. But now it was my time to, to ask apology within me. And, with my word, being impeccable with my word with myself, I train myself to not eat those food anymore, the food that make me sick. I don't need no more Tums. I got a fat liver, I got hard heart, I got high cholesterol, and all went away because of my changing a diet. And 3 years ago, I used to weigh 158 pounds. And right now, 258 pounds. And right now, I weigh 148, 149.
Wow, you dropped 100 pounds. Wow.
I got all my health back. Even the doctor just wants to see me when I just get my B12. But, it's about doing a word. When you know that something goes against you, it's to have that respect for you. And you know what? I used to love everything I used to eat, I had my time, but like my brother said, if I'm going to reach 49, I have those genes of having a heart attack potentially like my father did. And he teaches a lesson is to really respect the body. Mm-hmm. And one thing that my father said when he came out of the heart attack, he said, all my life when he was living with the 16% of his heart capacity, he said, all my life, my body supported my mind. Now it's my time for my mind to support my body. And that lesson was so profound that I really understood that I learned a mastery. It was the mastery of complaining that I don't have this, complaining that I'm hungry, but I'm not hungry, and I have this food in front of me, but I have to know what I eat, It's about really learning, like, re-listen to our body, our emotions. It's also listening what the body wants, because I tell you, I began doing things that I never imagined. I went to boot camp, I ran, I did many things that I couldn't even before do. And even not long ago, they think that I was the younger brother because they haven't met me, because I begin losing age too, going veganism. But the beautiful thing it is to not fool ourselves, we cannot longer fool ourselves. When we wake up, we can no longer go back to sleep. So every time you betray your body, every time you betray your word, you will know. Nobody will know. But you knowing is the ultimate opportunity to change your world.
Yeah, death is definitely an eye opener for most people, and then to shift your perception around that is, like you said, as your father would tell you guys, you got to go to live. You got to learn how to die. Daniel Brinkley, near-death experience. I think you all know him. He says when you die, you have this kind of panorama life review where you actually, everything that you kind of watch yourself, like in that movie Defending Your Life with Albert Brooks, when he was watching himself, all the stuff.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, it is a great movie. He says kind of like that is where you actually watch all, and it's not so much what you did specifically, it was your intention behind what you did, and you watch from day one. And but what an interesting part about this view, he says, that everyone goes through, he believes, that not only are you watching it, but you're actually experiencing it from that person that you affected. So your experience from their perspective, and not just like their view, but emotionally, you're experiencing what the pain that you gave them. And what do you, Miguel? What do you believe happens when you die? And Jose, I want to hear what you believe on that too.
Well, I don't know what happens when I die. Like my dad's told us his experiences. I've grew up Catholic, so the expression is that we all go back to God. That's happens. When my dad often says that when at that moment, all those problems become that we thought were real problems in our life became irrelevant, that all those things that made us separate or create a division between us are really irrelevant. We wasted our time with that. What happens after that step? Well, I'll find out when it happens to me. When it'll be next week or tomorrow or in a year, or if I live to be as old as my great-great-grandfather, Don Ezequiel Macias, who lived to be at the age of 116 years of age.
No way.
I've got 75 years of life left in me. So what happens at that moment, we'll find out. But if I worry so much about that moment, then I'm going to miss this moment. I'm going to miss out on this experience. Everything ends. So if I know that everything ends, then why am I worried about it ending? I'm going to enjoy this present moment while life is saying yes to me.
Right, right. Jose, what's your
what happens when we die? I'll find out.
Well, let me know, would you? Because I'm going to be going. I'm going to be going to 116 myself. So
sounds good, man. Sounds good.
Jose, what's your take on just death? From this three-dimensional world, and what do you think happens? If it's anything like what Daniel Brinkley says.
Well, it's very beautiful to see, there's different points of views of different humans around the world.
Yeah.
They have experience when they go down, that there's this point of perception, just seeing everything from above like a dream. And then later they come up and they describe certain things that, that did happen. And, in my life, I know that I feel it, because I really feel that this dream already happened. This life already happened. That's why I can really explain the deja vu feelings that I feel, that everybody feels, when we dream something before it happens. Because it's connected to that point as well. And this is what I love, the dream of the butterfly, because the butterfly represents resurrection. So when the butterfly comes out of the cocoon, it comes out of the body, and it begins to live for like around 3 or a few days to see it from a different point of view. And I really feel like this is what we feel like doing, because the body, it represents the mother, It's part of the mother. We're more than that. We're intent that goes through it, And 3,000, 4,000 years of language cannot be the truth in billions of years of world. What is truth is what we feel inside. And, having this awakening inside of us, we wake up in this illusion of humanity where people hurt each other, where people are in a hurry to be incorrect or to be the best or to achieve something when we already achieved something. We achieved the gift of life, to stop and breathe. This is why I love when the Hindu chant the Om. because in science, it has been proven that that's the sound of the sun. So when we feel this vibration within us, that is beyond word, it's a vibration. And this is where now incorporate this feeling coming out with the ultimate teaching that I can translate what I've learned in this world, the language of Abraham Lincoln, that has only one religion. And he says, if I do good, I feel good. And if I do bad, I feel bad. That's my way of life. But in this point on going, living this way, you begin to witnessing everybody dreaming their own point of view. But the beautiful thing about life and death is the dream, the point of perception that make us perceive when we're asleep or awake. And this is what I love, very interested to see what's going to happen when it's our turn to go. Because I see many people seeing from different points of view that they see from a point of view. And I really know that in my heart and faith, we'll return back to source, because it's just this life force creating itself again and again and again. But it's a gift for us humans, to make a dream of the planet and to live in it and to uncorrupt it, because this is what we're here for, to enjoy what life gives to us. So what a beautiful creation, life and death.
Yeah, and it sounds like you guys, if not your purposes, have been unfolding. But have you narrowed down, well, this is my purpose at this point in my life? Do you look at it from that perspective, or do you see it as there's something that's going to unfold for me later on, or I'm not there yet, or it is just a journey? I mean, Miguel, what's your take on your purpose?
It's a journey.
Yeah.
It's every step has taken me to this place. I'm the sum of every choice that I've ever made. But at the same time, I'm the youngest I will ever be. I have my whole life ahead of me.
Right.
So from that point of view, the truth that I'm living right now is my truth. This is where I've come to. And I've gone through a lot of experiences. I've had a lot of aha moments. I've had quite a few heartbreaks. I've had a lot of moments of success. I've fallen in love. I've held my children. I've held them in my arms when they were born. I'm out there. I've seen my practice, my craft evolve, in the last 11 years that I've seriously given it all my attention, all my focus. I've seen it evolve. Where it's heading, I don't know. We'll find out. But I'm going to enjoy producing it and creating it. That's, for example, in running a marathon, using that image again.
Yeah.
You don't run a marathon only that Sunday for 26.2 miles, even though that's technically the race. You run it for 6 months or even a year. It's the whole journey. It's the whole process, because, a year ago, for example, I was training for that particular marathon. I was barely able to run 10 miles. And by the end of this December, I was able to cover that distance. And then the ebb and flow of my body's condition goes forward, because I was able to run 26.2 miles on December 3rd doesn't mean I'm able to run on December 4th those same mileage, because I tell you, I was in so much pain I could barely walk 3 miles, let alone run. So it's this ebb and flow of life. Our best will always change with every moment of our life.
Yeah.
So to me, it's definitely the journey that takes us in a direction that we choose, and we either say the grass is greener as soon as and use that as a motivator. But if you use that as a motivator, we're never going to enjoy where we are right now, because it's somewhere in the future. Our approval of ourselves, our love for ourselves, is somewhere in our imaginary sense. And we may never find it, because it'll never fit the image that we have in our mind for it.
Yeah. No, it's
but if we see it from the point of view that, this is the time I have to enjoy life. This is the moment. I can't go back in the past and change a yes to a no, or no to a yes, or the future only exists in my imagination. This is it. Then the grass is greener right where I'm standing. And because I love myself, because I enjoy being me, I can go in any direction in life. If I like the course I'm going in, I'll continue. And if all of a sudden I don't like doing it, I'll change. If one day I get bored with running, then I'll switch to yoga, or I'll switch to a bicycle, or I'll switch to swimming, or I'll just simply switch to sitting on a couch watching TV, which I rarely do nowadays, but
But when you do, you enjoy it.
Ask out of me, because, all right, I've ran 13 miles, Miguel. I think it's time for my body to rest a little bit.
It's Lost Boys time,
Yes.
So, Jose, anything you want to add to the purpose there? Because I have a couple more questions for you, and I know you guys are going to get going here. But go ahead, Jose, if you want to add to your purpose, and maybe your purpose specifically, how it differs from your brothers,
Yes, for me, my purpose is this, because I give my word to share what my family was going to teach. And once I did that word, it was when I was around 18. And I gave my word to the ocean. And every time when I keep my word, my life becomes chaos. So I love, for me, it's nothing more than sharing what my grandparents gave me, what my mother gave me, what Swami Kaleshwar gave me, because every time I feel that, I feel like gratitude is being passed by. And it's the people who come and listen, and people who come and read, who are grateful, that say their life changed. It's their words, that make me feel a part of my joy, that everything that I went through was not in vain. And they are such a healing medicine for my heart, that there's nothing else to do. Even though I pretend to do something else, it doesn't have the same passion that I have from living this dream, because this is how my grandmother is eternal for me in my heart.
Yeah. Well, that's beautifully stated, really is. Okay, so I have a little project for you guys. Have you guys been working on the Sixth Agreement yet? Because if you haven't, I have an idea for you guys. You ready for this?
I'll say, go for it.
All right, so I think the Sixth Agreement, in my opinion, that you guys could be working collectively, the two Ruiz brothers, coming up with the Sixth Agreement, leaving Pops out of this one. And you guys come up with the Sixth Agreement. And if you haven't, or if you're already there, what would you guys potentially collaborate on? What could the Sixth Agreement look like?
The funny thing about that, Jose just posted something about that not too long ago.
What did he say?
No, Jose, go for it.
Well, I had a picture my brother took with 6 agreement plans, and I asked if it was a 6th agreement, which one would it be? And a lot of my friends and family begin posting, posting. But, for me, if I met to work on an agreement, this is what I've been sharing with everybody. But at the end, this is Janet Mills' baby, so it's her gift, But I would say, what I would share is the agreement of love. Because after the 5 agreements were done, it was only in the mind. And I really would like to share, that the next agreement is of love, of helping, healing your body, healing your cathedral, healing your whole gift that it makes you operate, in all levels, with exercise, with creativity, something that really would get it out there. This would be my take on it, the 6th agreement.
I agree.
So you guys agree. So what we expect to see another book coming out between you two on the 6th Agreement, right? You could fine tune it. All right. But again, you guys been listening to Miguel Ruiz Jr. and also Jose Ruiz talking about life, and also getting involved in. If you want to check him out, you could go to miguelruiz.com to contact Jose. And you go to miguelruizjr.com to contact Miguel. Of course, Miguel is the author of Self-Mastery, The 5 Levels of Attachment book. And you said there's 2 other books, too, Miguel. What were those other books?
It's called Living a Life of Awareness, and a little book called Don Miguel Ruiz, Little Book of Wisdom. Yeah. So it's, the 4 books, The Master Yourself, The 5 Levels of Attachment, right, and those 2 books. So it's I've been blessed, I got to share my passion in life, and I got the opportunity, so I'm grateful. Thank you so much.
No problem. If people want to contact you or get on your workshops, just go to your website. It's the best way to do it.
That's our home base.
Home base, I got you.
Do you travel the country doing kind of workshops or anything like that? I haven't looked.
A lot, yes.
Do you? I'll look and see where you are locally.
All over the world.
Yeah, oh, really? Well, are you ever in Atlanta? Are you in Atlanta?
Maria wants you to come. Maria wants you to come to Atlanta.
I want to go.
I want to go. I definitely want to go to Atlanta.
All right.
Definitely.
And Jose, of course, co-author of the 5th Agreement, and soon to be co-author of the 6th Agreement. But and you can reach him again at miguelruiz.com. But I can't thank you guys enough for coming on. You're spiritual warriors. I just think what you're doing is just intense and so needed at this time. And there's so many more questions I had wrote down I wanted to ask you, but of course we're running out of time. But you guys, will you come back again in the future, either one-on-one or?
Yeah.
All right.
It will be to be with Intentions.org again.
All right, fantastic. Listen, thank you guys. I really appreciate your time and what you're doing for humanity. Keep up the good work, and you got our support at the foundation 100%. All right.
Thank you. And have fun. Enjoy everything you do.
We sure will. Thank you. Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.